I still remember the first time I saw Guitar Hero in person over at my local Best Buy, probably late '05 or early '06. They had a display demo there, back when they did that type of thing for video games. Now, up until that point, I had only read articles about the game in magazines, so I was super hyped to try it out. So I picked up the guitar controller, laid the strap over my head, and I was hooked. The first song I ever played on Guitar Hero was More Than a Feeling by Boston, and I was certainly getting more than a feeling for that game. However, I never owned the original Guitar Hero. No, unfortunately, my parents did not foresee it in the budget for Christmas that year, but the following year, I was able to score Guitar Hero 2, and let me tell you, I played that game every single day until Rock the '80s came out, and it came with this nice cherry red Gibson SG controller. I started on medium because I had already had experience playing over at buddies' houses, and once I beat the entire game and 5-starred every song on medium, I moved up to hard difficulty and did the same thing, ultimately ending up as a true Guitar Hero, well, at least enough of a Guitar Hero in my mind, beating every song on Expert with 5 stars other than the little song from hell called Jordan by Buckethead. But one of the best things about Guitar Hero 2 is the set list. There were a good amount of bands that I'd never heard before playing this game, which would become a trend for me with later games. But one of the downsides to the game was the fact that all of the songs, aside from the bonus tracks, were covers performed by studio musicians over at Wave Group Sound instead of the original artists. Guitar Hero was still a new game franchise, and the budget was probably low in comparison to what it would become, and the covers didn't sound terrible by any means, but nothing beats the original songs in most cases. Come July 24th, 2007, Harmonix releases their final Guitar Hero game called Guitar Hero Encore Rock the '80s, and as you would guess, the entire soundtrack consists of rock and metal songs from the 1980s decade. This was more considered an expansion pack of tracks rather than a whole new entry into the franchise. It only came with 30 songs, which for the most part were incredible songs. However, the game did receive a lot of criticism for being $49.99, considering how small the soundtrack was, and I can understand that since Guitar Hero 2 had 64 songs at the same price, if you don't factor in the controller bundle. After that, Harmonix would move on from Guitar Hero to develop Rock Band, and Activision would hire Neversoft to develop Guitar Hero 3 Legends of Rock. Now, Guitar Hero 3, in my opinion, has the best soundtrack of any Guitar Hero game, with over half of the 73 songs being the original recordings, including original guitar battles with real-life musicians Tom Morello, Slash, and Steve Ouimet, recorded exclusively for this game. With this release, Guitar Hero was a massive success for Activision and became a staple in the gaming industry for several years. Guitar Hero competitions became a regular thing, world records would be created, then Rock Band came out. Harmonix would create a new rhythm game which would allow up to 4 players to play guitar, bass, drums, and vocals, a full band, and parties were changed forever, at least for gamers. Activision would follow suit with Guitar Hero by adding full band play to their games with their next release, Guitar Hero World Tour, and this is where Activision and Harmonix started to kill their game franchises, because 4 months prior to the release of World Tour, they released Guitar Hero Aerosmith, and 8 months prior to that, they released Guitar Hero 3. So here's an image of the release timeline, and this is just between November 2005 and October 2008. Of course, moving into 2009, it hit the fan. Between Activision and Harmonix, we were getting enough rhythm games to kill a guy. Too many releases too fast. Here's an image of every Guitar Hero and Rock Band game released in 2009, plus DJ Hero and Band Hero, excluding handheld games and track packs released on disc. 8 main games released in 2009. They were riding this money train all the way to the bank, and good for them, because 2010 would be the final year that we would get a new Guitar Hero game, at least in the traditional sense. Guitar Hero Warriors of Rock would release on September 28th, 2010, and personally I love this game, but it was criticized for having a majority of heavy metal songs focused on guitar gameplay instead of full band play as much as they used to. Go figure, right? The Guitar Hero game was criticized for guitar solos being a priority. The Quest mode was narrated by Gene Simmons of Kiss and had a pretty sweet homage to Rush's song 2112. This game was fantastic for any hardcore fan, but not so much for the casual newcomer. Rock Band 3 would release on October 26, 2010, introducing keys as a playable instrument and a pro guitar controller that I'm not sure anyone ever used, because why would you learn this controller when you could learn a real guitar? And after that, Guitar Hero and Rock Band officially died until 2015. The rebirthing of virtual crowds chanting for encores would return with the release of Rock Band 4 on October 6, 2015. And to this day, they're still making DLC every week for that game. And Activision followed behind Harmonix with the release of a new Guitar Hero game, this time only with guitar gameplay, which had diehard fans really excited at first, but Activision also chose to do something new with this game over something more familiar. You see, Activision thought they killed Guitar Hero back in 2010, but they refused to leave well enough alone, and therefore, on October 20th, 2015, Guitar Hero Live was released. Guitar Hero Live was different in many ways, and not all were bad. In fact, their new approach to DLC with the GHTV was pretty awesome. There were 4 channels of music videos constantly playing in rock blocks, metal blocks, pop blocks, and so on. And this was similar to how MTV used to present music videos on TV back in the 80s and 90s. It was like a live, interactive music video game. You could jump in and out of each channel and play what was currently broadcasting while the music video for the song was your backdrop for free. And as you would play these songs for free, you would earn credits that could then be used to play any song available in the catalog, or you could just pay for credits with real money. And honestly, I like the idea of earning free plays. Sometimes it's hard to pick a song anyway, so why not play what is on the live channels and think about what you want to play while you earn your credits. Unfortunately, this feature was shut down on December 1st, 2018, shrinking the playable songs from 484 to a depressing 42. But that's not even the worst thing about Guitar Hero Live. No, the worst thing about Guitar Hero Live is the controller, because for some reason Activision thought what a comeback to a beloved franchise needed was a completely new way to play the frickin' game. Instead of 5 fret buttons in a row, they went with 2 rows of 3 buttons, and boy was this a curveball for even a veteran player like me. I picked up on it fairly quick, but I was also an expert player for 10 years and an actual guitarist too. But I could imagine for the majority of fans, this was a deal breaker. The career mode in this game was nice and presented as a first-person view on stage in front of a real crowd. If you started to perform badly, they would react and boo you. And if you did well, then they would praise you as the rock god that you are. Once you've completed the career mode, there's not much left to do. The songs are mostly simple and don't merit much replay value. At least they didn't for me. And that is where Guitar Hero officially ended for the second time. But in closing, I'd like to say this. We need another Guitar Hero game, and we need it to be like it was when Guitar Hero 3 came out. Back to the original 5-button concept and with the guitar battles. At the very least, we could use some new instruments. There's a lot of Rock Band and Guitar Hero fans longing for that experience again, but buying used drums and guitars are inflated so high you could damn near float away. Earlier in February 2023, Hyperkin did tweet Epic Games, who now owns Harmonix, proposing a manufacturing deal for new instruments since Mad Catz, the original manufacturer, went out of business in 2017. But as of the recording of this video, nothing has been announced publicly and therefore lays dormant as a little glimmer of hope in the back of my mind. Honestly, just remaster Guitar Hero 1, 2, and 3 with a new guitar and I'll buy 3 copies to do my part.